How do you craft successful strategies? There is no single prescription for creating a successful company. This is as it should be, because life would not be exciting at all in that case. However, if one looks at the strategies of successful companies, a few points are apparent. First, successful strategies leverage industry structure. Second, successful strategies select unique positions. Third, each generic strategy positions the firm differently in its market and competitive environment. It is this uniqueness that is rewarded in the marketplace. Fourth, the generic strategy adopted will also drive its functional strategies, namely production and operations, financial and people-related, marketing, and so on. These functional strategies should be internally consistent with the generic strategy of the company and its competitive positioning. When this alignment exists, strategy execution is likely to be successful. Given all of the above, we can now appreciate why the choice of a generic strategy by a firm is an important strategic commitment. It tends to drive the rest of its strategic actions. A few final points are also worth making here. Consider companies with successful strategies. If the company is profitable, it has successfully followed one of the three generic strategies. To discover which one, we can examine its market share and target customers. If its market share is large, then the firm is either an overall cost leader or an overall differentiator. On the other hand, if its market share is small, then the firm follows a focus strategy. For such a profitable company, the strategic recommendations relate to commitment, consistency, and continual monitoring. Commitment implies one must stick to the current generic strategy that you are following. Consistency implies that all the functional strategies should be consistent with your chosen generic strategy. 3. Continuous monitoring of A. Technology trends that may make current product designs and production techniques obsolete. B. Trends in consumer tastes that may affect the size and profitability of existing segments or may result in the creation of new segments. And C. Tracking competition to mark changes in their cost position, image, reputation, and taking appropriate action to defend your position against any challenges. What about the unsuccessful or unprofitable companies? First, it is important to note that if an enterprise is not profitable in the long term, then it has failed in following any one of the generic strategies. As we said before, we could generally call such enterprises stuck in the middle. Exceptions to this rule exist though, especially in the case of regulated industries where even inefficient firms with seemingly inconsistent strategies may remain profitable. But that is not a case that we will look at today. In general, the recommendations for firms with unsuccessful strategies and therefore unprofitable existence are different. They would be: first, if a company has a reasonably large share of an overall market, then depending on its skills and resources, it should move to become either an overall cost leader or an overall differentiator. For instance, if the firm has or can gain access to low-cost labor, large efficient plants, and modern efficient machinery, then the strategy of cost leadership may be most feasible. On the other hand, if it has a good reputation for quality, service, reliability, and so on, and there exists a sufficient number of customers willing to pay a premium for that, then the firm might want to become a differentiator. Remember that the overall cost leadership or differentiation strategies call for a significant amount of resources and possibly a long break-even period. Given this, sometimes even a company with a reasonably large share of the market may find it profitable to use a strategy of focus. Such a strategy may require downsizing, reduction in sales, or closing of plants, laying off employees, and so on, all of which can be painful. Therefore, such strategies are often very difficult to implement, particularly by the incumbent management. Often, a new management team that may be in place, perhaps because of restructuring, buyout, acquisition or something like that may have an easier time implementing the required changes. Second, if a company has a small share of the overall market, then depending on its resource position and the target segment, it should choose to achieve either a low cost or a differentiated position in that segment. The strategy that you choose, that is low cost in case you have access to low cost labor and efficient plants, or differentiation if you have or can gain a good reputation for quality, reliability and the like, is what you need to choose. As before, remember that if a company decides to become a differentiator, then that chosen segment must have enough number of customers willing to pay a premium for the attributes on offer, that is higher quality and or higher reliability. Finally, it's very important to remember that commitment, consistency and patience are the hallmarks of successful implementation of any new strategy, since the results of your actions may not immediately be visible. Strategists or managers who become impatient and flip-flop between different strategic approaches are likely to run their companies into the ground rather than turning profitable. With this, we have come to the end of our fourth module on analyzing the value chain of a firm as well as determining its competitive position. However, there is one more question that we still need to answer. So far, we have only talked about single business firms. How does one view strategy in the context of multi-business firms? It is to that we will turn to in the next module. Until then, goodbye and have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.